Hello everyone, I'm back with another video for you today, and this time we're going to be taking a look at Skellige, and in my opinion, what is the strongest deck at the moment. It is King Bran. I was playing around with Crack, and he is also very good, but I figured, you know what, I think Bran is probably better, so I'm not gonna showcase Crack on this occasion, maybe another time, but we do have Bran here. Why is he so good? Well, he is rocking all of the typical cards that are great in Skellige, that were great in the Ice deck that I showed as well. Iced Bran is kind of a discussion you can have. I think Iced is better in certain matchups, Bran is maybe better in others. Iced a bit more finisher value, Bran a bit more consistent. Bran, I think, overall is probably a little bit better than Iced. But, doesn't mean Iced is bad or anything. Anyway, let's get into the card choices. A lot of these are pretty straightforward. We have all the really good Skellige cards. We have the Thinning with Bran, with Burner Bran, I should say, as well as with Bran, and Coral and Skulls, just to get rid of all those bad cards, you know, your Skirmishers, your Morkvarg, as well as your kind of 4 provision special cards that you do not really want to play a lot of the time, although you can in you know, certain situations, spores maybe onto Yutta or that sort of thing. Playing a little bit of a risky version here. Some people like to play the Veteran so that they have another target for Sigdrifa's Right. I don't have that in this deck, decided not to put it in instead. We're allowing space for things like Harald Houndsnout and Svalblood Totem, which I think are really, really good, just as proactive plays in your Bran deck. Totem can, of course, be comboed with Olaf, along with Knut the Callous. Very, very strong potential there from all of these cards. Proactive plays and just the ability to remove a little bit. Potentially even get a unit higher in strength than Yutta and allow her to be a 12 strength bomb. So a lot of cool combos going on there. You can also tactical advantage on Caldwell, get him up to a 15 and then play Yutta if you're on blue coin. So Yutta's really working quite well, of course, with Spores as well, and then you want to revive her later with Sigdrifa's Right. Not really, this card isn't really working with anything else. You could take it out and maybe replace it with Gregoire if you want. That wouldn't be too bad. You can also just, you know, experiment a little bit with the bronzes. As I said, Veteran might be one that you want to throw in there. Other gold cards are also possibly, you know, worth including. But this is the version we're going to go with. Really, you can't go too wrong with Bran as long as you're playing something similar to this with the kind of Brokvar Hunter and discard package to synergize with it, along with, you know, some power plays, bit of removal, and, yeah, of course, those discards and thinning that makes Skellige so strong, typically. That's pretty much the deck. Of course, you're getting a big guy in the graveyard trying to res that later on. You're trying to use Hjalmar later on Caldwell or whatever. And you're pretty much just going for big value throughout the game with the Bran passive ability, the consistency that he brings, getting all of your finishes in round 3. Often playing out bad cards in earlier rounds, thinning out bad cards in earlier rounds so you can get into your late game juicy plays that can really destroy the opponent. With that being said, let's jump into a game or two and see how this deck plays. And the first opponent going to be a Woodland Spirit. Definitely a matchup that is, you know, winnable for the monster player. We are on red coin though, which is always a nice thing. And the awkward thing with Bran is you often want to actually mulligan away your good cards so that you can kind of save them for later, get the value on them later in the game. So we might do that here with Knut and Olaf. We could keep them to kind of push, but yeah, Totem as well is another one we don't particularly want to actually play in this round. We'll also get rid of Sigdrifa's Right. As we can't, you know, we can't play that early on, and we want to be getting access to kind of our bad cards, so we can thin them out, and yeah, dispose of those nicely. So, what is our opener here? Well, we could go with Coral to deal with Alpha Werewolf, and honestly, I don't mind that. We can probably just discard Skirmisher, especially if we don't draw, you know, another special, or even if we do, we can maybe do that.
That might even be amusing.
We'll just use the removal value really nicely to deal with that Alpha Werewolf. And yeah, I think we'll get rid of the Skirmisher here. We can always get rid of Trophy Catch with a Skull. Either way, gonna secure the kill on that and deny the Thrive value and everything, which is probably a good deal. And if they can't kill Coral, then we're going to get even more value on these other special discards that we can use, of course. And it looks like they're not going to do anything about Coral, so, you know, let's go with a Skuld here. Why not? And we'll thin out Trophy Catch, don't really need that, and we can then get a bit more damage here with Coral. We could discard the other one, but we might get even, you know, an extra point here if we don't discard right away. So let's be a bit greedy. If they haven't removed Coral already, then they probably won't, is what I'm going to assume. They probably aren't going to do that at all. Protoflader going to be the play. So I think we definitely want to go Bran onto Trophy Catch here, just to get the extra value on the Coral, of course. Really kind of an unfair amount of points, honestly, that we've got from that. So what next? Well, we could commit some good cards here if we want to push. Caldwell is definitely a card we want to get out, you know, at some point. I think we can probably afford to play Harold and use him to push a little bit in this round. You know, we might actually be able to win on even with the plays we've made and the I guess lack of removal onto Coral. So you know what, I think pushing is probably wise, and we could go with Olaf to help do that. Caldwell is another option, but I'd like to have the Olaf on the board so that we can Canute it if we need to damage something and deny a Caldwell steal or whatever. And actually Geralt's going to come down and deal with that nicely. So we could use Canute actually onto a sort of a Harold's Pal or whatever. Interestingly, Sigdrif's Right can res that. It is a 6-point play, so it's not particularly great, but you know, we might want to do that. We don't really have many other targets with Canute to really use, so yeah, I think using it here on the Harold's Pal is probably fine. It's a bit weird because we're kind of using quite a few good cards here, but if we're getting good stuff from them as well, then that's probably okay. And we will want to, I guess, commit Caldwell, as he can be dead later on, which obviously isn't too good. Let's play him now, and then we can use Ulfadin to maybe counter a big play that they make, like a spear tip or whatever. Could be quite nice. And there is a spear tip. I think Ulfadin now is basically getting the maximum value it's going to get, and we're denying the steal on Caldwell basically, which is pretty important. Getting ahead in points again is really nice as well. We can maybe commit Bloodlust as well if we think we're going to get some good resources from them. Unfortunately, Spores, Sigdrif's Right are both very kind of bad. It is definitely true. And you kind of expect their next play to maybe be a normal sized spear tip. It is possible. Unfortunately, we can't like Bloodlust their spear tip here and kill it. That would be really good if we could, but probably playing Bloodlust is okay. We're going to at least force a pretty decent card out of them, at the very least. If not, maybe their leader, maybe push a win on even here. Oh, and we're getting the leader. That's really good news. That is going to push us out of the round, but pretty good result, I would say. We don't have the Caldwell and Graveyard, which is a little bit annoying, but we do have that leader down, so definitely their power in round 3 is going to be a little bit lesser now, I guess we could say. Yutta's a nice pickup as well. We can drop that in this round should we need to. We want to keep the Skirmisher definitely for play to, you know, do with Bran. We can probably get rid of Spores as well, I suppose, and just kind of look for our good cards now. I don't know if that's correct. We kind of want to get the bad stuff so we can thin all the way down. Then again, Brokvar Hunters, not really. We haven't played them round 1, so they're stuck in the deck at this point. And it might just be better to hold on to our good stuff, really. So I'm going to keep this. Maybe we want Burner, Morkvarg and that sort of thing, but you know, it's whatever. So I guess we can actually play the Bran onto Yutta in case we want to keep the Skirmisher. Maybe we draw you know, something else here, but no, we'll play that. And okay, Sigdrif's Right is enabled, which is pretty good. Hjalmar, not so much, and this is kind of one of the, I mean, we've got Olaf there. That's pretty decent, but that is one of the concerns with this deck, is you maybe end up kind of bricking in a way. Okay, we can get rid of the Marauder. Brokvar Hunter's not really too hot, but neither is Spores. We'll probably keep one of those, and the Spores should find some value. Maybe not, we'll see. We do kind of need to hit Burner or Skuld, or we're going to be in big trouble here, but definitely Sigdrif's Right going to be the initial play we go with. Kind of a weird hand for us. We had too many good cards in round 1, which is, you know, it's a bit of a weird thing when you play Bran, but you really don't want good cards early on if you can avoid it. I think we do want to play the Brokvar Hunter here, as we're not going to have enough discards to get rid of everything. We're going to have to, you know, get rid of Morkvarg and then hopefully the D-Bomb afterwards, but it's very possible. But this is basically not the worst card that we're going to have, most likely, so very happy to play it. See if the Plumard is getting them value or whatever. Could have also Brand there just to have a look at what's going on, but we can always do that next turn and maybe hit something more important, of course. Ooh, and that is giving Spores a really good amount of value, which we could take right now if we're worried about them kind of damaging or whatever. I think it's probably a good idea to do, even though we miss out on a point technically. And of course we'll discard Morkvarg and make sure that we can grab a bit of value on the Brokvar Hunter. Probably don't need to really go crazy with this, just damage a little bit. We're 14 points up now, which is obviously not too shabby. He did play into Cyclops a little bit there, but it is what it is. We can get rid of this Skull now. No artifact's going to happen. And obviously a 4-point play right now isn't very good, and we do pick up, you know, a pretty bad card in the Hunter. So we'll see if having a few bad cards here is enough to really cost us the game. They will have like Osrail potentially as a finisher. Spear Tip we can deal with Hjalmar, so that's pretty nice. But we want to go with the Totem first here to be able to proc the Order effect, of course. I think we can probably damage Spear Tip, I don't see a reason not to. Maybe damaging Plumard is fine, but at this point the bleeding won't get extra value, so not really a concern. And okay, can we make it? Hjalmar plus the Totem proc is quite a few points. But will it be enough? That's the real question. And, you know, we should probably hit the Osrail in case they've got Riders or something as their final play. If we play around that, we might end up getting a few more points. Shouldn't really matter, but there it is. Gonna be a pretty clean win. That might have gone differently had the draws at the end been a slightly different, but still a pretty nice win, and despite a weird hand with no bad cards really in round 1. Anyway, let's jump into another game and see if we can win again. And it looks like we're going to be playing a Bran mirror for the next match. We'll see what we can do here. Going to be pretty important to get rid of kind of bad cards in the first round. We do have a few here. Brockvar Hunter's a really good play to kind of lead off with the other stuff here is looking pretty promising. I think we can get rid of Styx Reaver's Right. We don't need that in round 1. We can probably also mulligan Olaf, as that's a pretty nice kind of late game card. Same story with Hjalmar. Of course, going to be a little bit risky going with this sort of an opener, but hopefully it'll work out. Let's start with that Brockvar Hunter and buff him up so he doesn't die super easily. Of course, blue coin not really what you want to see in the mirror matchup, but we'll see if it's too painful. Hopefully it won't be. We could play Coral, although I think Skuld is pretty fine to get rid of first. We don't have that many specials in hand, and there's no guarantee we would draw, draw one. We can just shoot here, I think, and then discard once more. Maybe we won't, actually. There's not really any need to. We can wait for the second Hunter to come down. If we discard, then this will have a charge, but if it dies, you know. They're playing a slightly different version to us, it seems like. Let's go with another Hunter here. Pretty happy to be getting these out in the early stages of the game, as they're pretty bad later on. But they do give you a little bit of pushing power if they survive. And that will really help us here if we're able to, you know, not be bullied out, but also at the same time get rid of some of our weaker cards. Then that'll be really ideal. So we could get rid of a Skirmisher here. I kind of like the idea of playing Coral, honestly, but maybe not just yet. Let Skirmisher have a look at what's going on and maybe play Skuld as well. Yutta doesn't seem too bad. We could Coral now, kind of clean up the Regis. We're going to need to definitely get Yutta out at some point, so let's do that now, I think. 10 points up, of course they can maybe overcome if they have a Coral or something. Taking a pass soon will be quite a good idea, I think. And honestly, that's a pretty big play, so maybe they're going for the win on even now, with sort of a bit of tempo. Seems like that might be the case. In that case, I guess we're going to have to respond with a pretty decent card of our own. We'll go to Regis here. Try to put some counter pressure on, and then maybe Coral can be played. We're going to need that, I imagine, to not die in this round. Maybe we will just be in trouble regardless. Although this is a pretty low tempo play that actually gives us the pass. So, a bit of a scary round. They've definitely committed a couple of good cards here, but we are able to survive it, seems like. And Yutta in the graveyard, which is definitely nice. We've also got rid of a couple of our bronzes, which feels really good. They haven't done so much kind of deck setup, so in theory we're in a pretty good spot here. Now we just have to, in practice, you know, make it happen. So we have all of the thinning in our hand, which is really, really good news. We can probably actually just get rid of our good cards for that reason. So Hjalmar's going to go. You know, Ulfadin can go as well, I guess. Whatever. We're just trying to find bad cards that we can kind of get rid of here with the Bran, with the Skuld, and we're going to play Skuld now onto Marauder, and then Bran to thin one of these specials out as well. And then we're going to take a pass. This is actually very good for us because the fact that they won round 1 in the mirror means that they can't actually play their Bran in round 2, and that means their deck is a little bit more kind of bricked than our one. We're going to be able to have a lot more kind of clean stuff going on here. So we probably can take mulligans here just to make sure we get, you know, the best cards possible, really. And yeah, I mean, the D-Bomb and whatnot are not really that great. So we can probably keep D-Bomb. We definitely want to get rid of that with Coral. Something like Trophy Catch or Spores is not going to be too hot, so we'll get rid of Spores, I think. We are actually going to be able to guarantee our whole deck, so I don't know why I'm even worrying there. We can literally guarantee everything. We have 2 discards with Coral Burner and Bran, so I should have probably even been keeping the special there. But you know what, I think it's probably okay. Main issue here is going to be having not really a Hjalmar target as well as a Sigdrifa's Right sort of thing going on. He might have a similar issue though, so not going to worry about it too much. We'll start with the Totem to counter Coral and stuff like that a little bit. I probably won't end up clicking this, at least, you know, not immediately. Alright, they go with their own Herald to deal with our Coral or whatever. So, honestly, probably going Coral here and just sort of firing at these skulls isn't the worst idea. We could also play like an Olaf, I guess, to start tanking them. I kind of don't mind that. In fact, I think it's probably a good idea to go for that line. Of course, we want to get Canute onto it, but we can maybe not worry about that for now. Maybe plead into Cleaver a little bit there. Okay, whatever. Let's go with Coral now. D-Bomb, get rid of it. Canute is now in hand. And we'll probably get rid of, I guess, probably Spores is slightly worse than Trophy Catch. We can get rid of them all actually with the Bran as well, so that would just guarantee us as much Coral value as possible, I guess, although it's mostly tanked by the Herald, which is a bit annoying. We could wait with the Bran, but I guess we may as well get the extra damage in while we can. Why not, right? So we'll do that. I'm going to have the perfect, basically, hand. I mean, it's looking really good, right? We also have Herald to enable Canute now. The Cleaver definitely hurt. Definitely did hurt quite a bit onto Olaf, but we have at least Hjalmar now onto that Olaf, so kind of a silver lining there, I suppose. I guess we should go with the Herald now, just to tank Coral or whatever, again, if they have that, which is pretty damn likely, and then we can think about playing Burner as well. Count Coldwell going to be a bit of a risk, and that might, you know, come to hurt us a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. Going to be very damn close. The one thing that we have in our favour is we've thinned all the way to 0 because we got to play our Bran in round 2, whereas they did not. So that's definitely going to help us out here, I think. Although Coral surviving is a bit of a pain, considering they haven't played Burner yet. They might still have specials to get value from it. So we could think about Canuting and killing it. And again, I'm not sure they will actually have anything to synergize with that. And we can maybe hit it with Burner here anyway, twice if we're very lucky. So let's go for the Burner, discard Morkvarg and Spores, because those will probably be the worst kind of value card. We also get a bit of extra value on Coral, which is really nice. So we're 13 up now, the rest of our hand is looking hot. But we do have to kind of worry a little bit, as they're going to have some good plays here, surely. They'd get a bit more Coral value, which is, of course, annoying, but what can you do? We're 6 points up right now, so that's very good news. Caldwell is definitely a play we can make. And honestly, probably making it now is reasonably okay. Is there any reason to go with a different card first? We could go Sigdrifa's Right. Kind of save Caldwell for the end. That might be better. It might be better. I'm thinking about Ulfadin and stuff like that. Maybe if we wait on it, it's actually a bit safer. Yeah, I kind of like that. So I'm going to play the Canute now and kill Coral, just in case there's anything else going on with her. Maybe hitting that's wrong. I'm not sure. We're enabling Disgrace Brawler and stuff. This is great news. That's a bad card. That is definitely a bad card. So yeah, we could play Coldwell, I suppose. It's going to be a bit scary, but I think it's a risk we're going to have to just take. And we're going to be able to deny their highest unit to some extent here with our damage and whatnot. Just a little bit scary. So if we go with the Sigdrufus right, we might be kind of punished by Caldwell getting stolen. If he does get stolen, we're not, you know, miles behind, but it's definitely not going to be ideal if that happens. Let's go with our Yutta now. We might be able to hold on to it, I think, by retaining the highest unit. It'll be quite close. Depends what their last couple of cards are. Primal Savagery doesn't really do much. And that's going to be a win. Pretty close game, but one thing to keep in mind with Bran is in the mirrors, it's really important if you can get your Bran discard off in round 2, which means you often don't want to win round 1, kind of counterintuitively. Keep that in mind for any Bran mirrors you might encounter. Definitely was an important factor there, as you saw they had pretty bad cards, you know, bronzes and whatnot to play, while we didn't. Anyway, that is Bran, probably the best deck at the moment. You'll probably be seeing quite a lot of it on ladder, I guess. Did want to give my thoughts and, of course, a bit of gameplay on it for you guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Do subscribe for more videos, as always, and I'll see you next time.